Hey guys, welcome in. Rob Kendall Show. Hope you're having a great Friday. We have a barn burner of a program for you today. Listen to what we've got coming up. We've got Indiana State Representative Carrie Hamilton. She's going to be with us talking about the suspension of the sales tax on gas, and she has been doing some serious digging into the Midstates corridor down in southwest Indiana. She's got major concerns about that project, about the cost of that project, about who's going to benefit from that project. She'll be with us to talk about that. Then, a little bit later, we talked about this just the other day. There is major drama going on in Shelby County, Shelbyville, related to a proposed data center. A data center that had a unanimous negative recommendation from the Planning Commission in the city of Shelbyville. And the city of Shelbyville City Council overrode that negative recommendation. And then it came to light, city of Shelbyville, essentially in cahoots with the developer. By the way, this will be an over 500-acre campus. City of Shelbyville essentially in cahoots with that developer as it relates to land use. All sorts of red flags for me went up about that. There is a group out in Shelby County dedicated to trying to stop this data center, and they are going to be with us to talk about some more details of the things we talked about the other day. And again, this is a broader conversation. And we say this all the time. We are not an anti-data center here. We are talking to you right now because of a data center. They have great power. They have great ability to positively influence society. But we here in the state of Indiana have zero parameters around these data centers right now. And it's not working. It's tearing communities apart. There's no framework by which these data centers know they can operate under. It's hurting everyone. It's hurting the data centers. It's hurting the communities. It's hurting the governments. And so it is past time for the state of Indiana to step in and begin to put some minimum standards, some minimum requirements, some minimum frameworks by which everybody has to operate. Because what we're seeing in Shelbyville right now appears to really stink. It appears to be a really giant set of red flags. And we're seeing this all over the state of Indiana. So we will have that conversation coming up here in just a little bit. Before we get to our show today, just a reminder, if you're new, welcome. Here's how it operates. We ask a few very small things of you in order to be a part of this fabulous program to help us grow. Number one, hit that little thumbs up button. Let people know you like the programming you're getting here. It's Indiana news, politics, and government, 2 hours a day, every day. Nobody else is doing it. And in order to keep doing it, we need to keep growing, and you can help us by hitting the thumbs up button. You can also help us out immensely by subscribing to our YouTube channel. If you haven't done that yet, it takes 2 seconds. Give us a subscribe, and then you'll be informed. You'll be aware when things are going on. Hit that little notification bell as well. And last but certainly not least, share the feed. We are doing local topics that nobody else is doing. We are diving into things that nobody else will take the time to do. And we're happy to do that. That's why we started this show. But we have to let people know we're out there because, quite frankly, we don't have a big network behind us. We don't have a lot of money behind us. We don't have a big corporation behind us. We are dependent upon you to help us grow. So we call these three things: like, share, and subscribe. Like the feed, subscribe to the channel, share on your Facebook, your Twitter, your social media. Let people know these things that we are talking about. And last but certainly not least, before we get to the program today, I would be remiss if I didn't mention our fabulous website, robkendallshow.com. robkendallshow.com. We have our live link up there. We have the on-demand podcasting platforms, all the places you can hear us more than just YouTube. We're on Apple. We're on Spotify. We're at all the places, all the on-demand podcasting platforms. And each day, we take some of our favorite segments. We turn them into articles off of those transcripts from our favorite segments. A lot of you guys like reading those, how they play out in addition to listening to them. All of that at robkendallshow.com. And one other little thing at robkendallshow.com. At the top of the page, we've got a support button. And so many of you have been so generous supporting our program financially. Just yesterday, Jenny Kelly and SoMedic all hitting that support button, giving generously at robkendallshow.com. Whether it's $1, $10, we're local guys doing local work. And hey, we're not above asking for some local money to help us out. So if you like what we do, if you want to say thanks in a way of giving a few shekels, we're grateful for it. Head over to robkendallshow.com. Hit that support button. Thank you to all of you over the past 6 weeks who have given so generously to support our program. Okay, so we've got a ton of things to get to today. But first, we've got to go back to where what we talked about an hour or two yesterday. This was a massive story that broke yesterday, and now more details have come out on it. And we're gonna stay on this because the media needs to stay on this, and the media needs to start asking Mike Braun how Tom Kleinhelter evaded an 80-page probable cause affidavit for close to a year and a half. Let's remind everybody about what I'm talking about. So yesterday, Tom Kleinhelter is the sheriff of Dubois County. Dubois County is Mike Braun's home county. Mike Braun and Tom Kleinhelter are super close, to the point where Kleinhelter was actually, his endorsement was actually featured in an ad for Mike Braun when he was running for governor. These guys are very connected. So Tom Kleinhelter, as the sheriff of Dubois County, it was revealed in an investigation from the State Board of Accounts. So State Board of Accounts are people who monitor how municipalities, how government entities spend money. And every couple of years they go in, look, they're very understaffed, but every couple of years they go in, they monitor things. If something's submitted to them, if there's a concerned citizen or government employee who submits something, they investigate local governments. And an investigation from State Board of Accounts revealed massive abuse of taxpayer money by the sheriff of Dubois County, Tom Kleinhelter. He was taking money from the commissary, and he was using it for personal expenditures. So out of that investigation from State Board of Accounts, an official government entity, the state police began to investigate. State Board of Accounts can't criminally charge you with anything. That has to come out of a prosecutor, and that investigation is done by state police. So State Board of Accounts refers this investigation to state police on the things that they have found. State police then put together in 2024 an 80-page probable cause affidavit revealing the misdeeds of Tom Kleinhelter in his official position as sheriff of Dubois County. Now, this is where this gets interesting. The case out of this 80-page probable cause affidavit had to go to a special prosecutor, which is understandable. There's nothing untoward about that. The prosecutor in Dubois County said, look, this guy's an elected official here. He's a political figure here. I'm going to give this to a neighboring county so that they can handle it to take away any sense of impropriety in what goes forward. So the special prosecutor, it was Orange County. Holly Huddleston was her name. The state police present this case to the special prosecutor in Orange County. Doug Carter was the state police superintendent at the time. You guys may remember him. He was a pretty high-profile state police superintendent. Carter helped oversee this investigation that resulted in an 80-page probable cause affidavit. We'll come back to Carter here in a second. At no point during this 80-page probable cause what resulted in an investigation of an 80-page probable cause affidavit did the Orange County prosecutor object or show any reservations about what was being handed to her according to Doug Carter. However, in late 2024, November 2024, Braun wins the election for governor. Now, come back full circle. Remember, Braun and Kleinhelter are super tied together. They're buddies. They're political allies. Braun wins the election for governor, and he ushers Doug Carter out as state police superintendent and brings in his own guy by the name of Anthony Scott. At that time, the investigation into Kleinhelter essentially dries up. Despite the 80-page probable cause affidavit, after Braun becomes governor and a new state police superintendent is installed, the investigation slows to a crawl, essentially a stop, and then ultimately no charges are filed. The state policeman who did the investigation, Jeff Herron, then becomes very upset about this. He says, we put all this effort into this. You didn't have any objection to this. This guy, in my mind, clearly did all of these things. At no point did you tell me to stop. Why isn't he being charged? This appears to be, according to Doug Carter, an open and shut case. Now, remember, we got all this information from Doug Carter a year ago on the radio show when he came on for an hour, came on twice, actually, to talk about this, really an hour and a half collectively, laying out these things that I'm telling you right now. I don't know if they've completely erased me from the memory. I don't know if you can go back and listen to that anymore. I don't know. If IBC's, I know they tried to erase most of me. If that's still there, you can go back and listen to that. If you can't find it, you should ask IBC why it's been erased, because it was a very important interview and ultimately culminated in criminal charges. What we did last year got this guy indicted. Don't make any bones about it. Us doing that interview, those interviews, created a statewide media storm about this. Numerous publications, the Star, Capitol Chronicle, all started digging into this again, and it fired the thing back up. So, just to reset, Kleinhelter is facing an 80-page probable cause affidavit from the state police in front of the Orange County Special Prosecutor. No objections are given, no concerns are raised. All of a sudden, Braun becomes governor, Braun, who is buddies with Kleinhelter. Braun appoints a new state police superintendent, and then the case goes away. And everybody's outraged. People are like, what happened? The Capitol Chronicle tried to press the Orange County Special Prosecutor on what happened. She wouldn't give an answer. Just said, well, it didn't meet the standard that I've set forth. And so for basically a year, nothing happens. Fast forward to yesterday, Ryan Mears, the Marion County prosecutor, levels an indictment against Kleinhelter related to 1 count of official misconduct, a level 6 felony, and 3 counts of false informing, a Class B misdemeanor. And so let's explain what actually happened here and what Mears, it appears, is charging based on. Mears did not have a jurisdiction over the actual acts Kleinhelter committed, because that's in Dubois County, and Ryan Mears is the prosecutor in Marion County. So Ryan Mears had no jurisdiction over what Kleinhelter did in Dubois County. That had to be done by that special prosecutor who was appointed to take the case. However, Ryan Mears knew this dude was super dirty, this dude being Kleinhelter. He knew what he did. Everybody with an IQ of 7 knew what he did and knew he was about to skate out scot-free. So what Mears did, and look, the Republican law enforcement in Dubois County and Orange County should be ashamed of themselves that they let this guy get off, and it took Ryan Mears, of all people, for all the crap Ryan Mears gets about being soft on crime, he's the only guy who was willing to step up and do something. Not Braun, not the Orange County prosecutor, not Anthony Scott, not none of these people. Ryan Mears is the only person who's willing to step up and do something about blatant corruption in government that everybody knew was going on. So what Ryan Mears did is he said, okay, I can't get him on the official action he did in Dubois County. But what I can get him on is in December of 2024, Kleinhelter gave an interview with state police in Marion County. So anything Kleinhelter did in Marion County, under the jurisdiction of Ryan Mears. So essentially what Mears did is went in a roundabout way to get Kleinhelter on the false statements about the thing that he did that was dirty, instead of getting him on the thing that's dirty. So ultimately, hopefully, justice will be served. It was really, look, Ryan Mears gets a lot of crap. And in many areas, he probably should. There's a lot of areas I don't think he's doing a great job policing violence in Marion County. But in this case, A-plus job, being the guy who was willing to step up and hopefully get this rotten dude to justice when other law enforcement would not do it. All right. So let's talk about what needs to happen now and because there's layers to this. First of all, every member of the media should be asking Mike Braun how Tom Kleinhelter evaded an 80-page probable cause affidavit from the state police that he oversees as governor. That is not a gotcha question. That's not fake news. It's not sloppy journalism. Every member of the media should be asking Mike Braun and the state police superintendent how his buddy, Tom Kleinhelter, managed to evade an 80-page probable cause affidavit. Also, the other question on this that Mike Braun should answer is because Jeff Herron, the decorated state police officer who investigated the case because he was outraged that charges weren't filed, he got punished by state police over his conduct. Is Mike Braun going to apologize and demand the state police superintendent apologize to Jeff Herron for the grief that he had to endure, for the punishment that he had to endure? Because ultimately, Jeff Herron was proven right yesterday, as was Doug Carter, as was I. Are these guys, is Jeff Herron going to be able to get his reputation back for doing the right thing, for voicing serious concerns when serious concerns were right to exist? Every member of the media should be asking, when does Jeff Herron get his apology? Is Mike Braun going to demand an apology? Is Mike Braun going to give an apology to a decorated member of law enforcement who was drugged through the mud for doing the right thing? And is Mike Braun going to come clean on how, or demand that a state police superintendent come clean, or demand that the Orange County Special Prosecutor come clean on how a sheriff who is guilty as sin, it's obvious what he did, it emanated out of a state Board of Accounts investigation. There's no question here what happened. Is Mike Braun, is the media going to demand that Mike Braun, the Orange County prosecutor, and the state police superintendent come clean on how this went down? Because, boy, you got to really stretch to think that's just a heck of a coincidence that this case was just moving forward. Everything was in line. There were no objections. And then Braun becomes the governor, and all of a sudden this just all goes away. That is the story right now. What did Braun know? What did Braun's camp know? And how did this case just go away? We have, with the indictment by Mears, with the charges by Mears, we have only begun to scratch the surface on the, almost said it, on the crap that's gone on here. It is so rotten. And hopefully now the media will begin to dig on this, begin to dig on what took place. The other thing that I was thinking about yesterday is these statements Kleinhelter gave date back to December of 2024, so a year and a half ago. That means in all likelihood, this has been on Mears' radar for close to a year and a half. Close to a year and a half, Ryan Mears has likely been looking into this. And until late last week, even quietly, nobody had an idea this was going down. I heard late last week there was something going down with Kleinhelter. I was told by a very reliable source says, in fact, I got it from two people, something's going down with Kleinhelter. Then yesterday, about an hour before the indictment, the charges were announced, somebody told me it's going down today. It's going to happen today. And I went back and forth, like, do I break that on this show? Do I be the first person to put it out there? And then I thought, no, I want justice to be able to run its course. I want Mears to be able to say what he has to say. I didn't want to be, because this is a horrible thing that happened. The fact that this guy got away with this for this long is dirty beyond belief. It's horrible that he was allowed to evade justice. And so then you start the wheels start turning, you realize Mears, to his credit, Ryan Mears, the Marion County prosecutor, to his credit, very quietly, for almost a year and a half, probably, looked into this case and nobody knew anything about it. Very meticulous. Very sneaky's not the right word. I mean, he was doing his job. But if I'm some of these high-profile political people we know there's been grand juries looking into them in their offices. I'm talking specifically about people like Thomas Carl Cook, former chief of staff, deputy mayor to Joe Hogsett. Indy Star reported grand jury was looking into him. The big one is if I'm Micah Beckwith in his office. Of course, numerous outlets reporting that a Marion County grand jury looking into Beckwith's office related to ghost employment, AI porn allegedly being shared in the office. If I'm those guys, I'm sweating a little bit today. Because a lot of people said, well, that report on Beckwith, that came out last fall. If there hasn't been anything, it's got to be over with, right? Maybe it is. Maybe it is. But in the case of Kleinhelter, there was a lot less legwork Mears had to do to bring forward charges than what he would have had to do or is doing or may be doing with Beckwith or Cook. With Kleinhelter, the facts were already out there. And it was clear at least to Mears, his statements were not in line with the facts as everybody knew them. It's pretty obvious. Here's what he said. Here's what the paper trail says. Boom, boom. Not a lot of investigation has to be done. And yet Mears was still meticulous enough that it took him a year and a half to get there from December of 24 when the statements were allegedly made to today. In the case of Beckwith, we know Mears' office was doing its own investigation. We've talked on the record with somebody who has talked to the prosecutor's office. We know they had to launch a whole investigation. Probably the same thing going on with Thomas Carl Cook. So for those people who are like, well, what happened to the AI porn allegations? What happened to the ghost employment allegations? And I've told people from the beginning, I've said, this is going to take a very long time. This is in the case of Beckwith and his office, number 2 guy in the state of Indiana. There's no way if Mears moves forward. Mears may ultimately move forward with nothing. Mears may eventually come out and go, nothing here. We looked at it and we couldn't find anything. Go about your day. But I've said from the beginning, if Ryan Mears was going to bring charges related to the office of the number 2 guy in the state of Indiana, he was going to be very slow about it. And it was going to take a long time in order to get to where he wanted to go or felt the evidence ended up taking him. Because if you're going to indict people in the number 2 guy in the state of Indiana's office, or even potentially the number 2 guy, who knows what they've looked into or what they've come up with. You're going to have that in a nicely wrapped bow. You're not going to leave any doubt to the imagination. So again, doesn't mean there's going to be any charges. Doesn't mean anything's going to be filed. Doesn't mean anything's going to happen. But if I'm Beckwith, if I'm Thomas Carl Cook, if I'm those guys, and I know there's been a grand jury looking into me in my office, I'm sweating today based on how well Mears kept this investigation against Kleinhelter under wraps. Hey, selling your home is a massive transition, and it can feel overwhelming. Lauren Wilson believes you deserve a real estate experience that's as personal as the home you're selling. When you work with Lauren Wilson, you aren't being handed off to a different assistant every week. Lauren is your primary partner from the day you list to the day you close. Trust your home to someone local. Lauren is a lifelong Hoosier and military vet. And with Lauren Wilson, you're going to get her direct attention backed by a professional support team that handles the paperwork so she can focus on you. Lauren Wilson with At Properties. Get to know her, even if you're not buying or selling a home right now. That way you got that person on speed dial. Lauren Wilson would love the opportunity to get to know you. Lauren Wilson with At Properties, 317-590-2290, 317-590-2290. Okay, when we come back, Carrie Hamilton, state rep, is going to join us. She has been digging into the Midstates corridor. She is not happy with a bunch of stuff with that. Plus, we're going to get her thoughts on the governor suspending the sales tax on gas. And can the Democrats, Republicans really unpopular in Indiana right now and across the country, can the Democrats finally get their act together and maybe win a few elections? We'll talk about all that and more coming up next. You're watching Rob Kendall Show.
Hi, I'm Lauren Wilson, a realtor with At Properties. Born and raised right here in central Indiana and a Hoosier through and through. Selling your home is a massive undertaking, and I completely understand what that is. That's why when you work with me, we put a great plan together to make sure that when your home comes to the market, it is in the best light possible. Again, I'm Lauren Wilson, 317-590-2290, 317-590-2290. Let's put a plan together and get your home sold.
I'm Doug Cobb for Clay County Commissioner. I'm running to bring transparency back to our local government. As a concerned citizen, I want to know what's going on. We need new and fresh ideas for today's challenges. We need a vision for future generations. As a small business owner, I want to explore and promote opportunities to make us all successful. Let's create a brighter future for Clay County together. I'm Doug Cobb, running for Clay County Commissioner, and I approve this message. Paid for by Linda Cheeson.
Right now, everything's expensive. That includes things you need around the house. If your water heater, water softener, or well pump goes out, or even if your toilet stops working, you could be looking at a major expense. Don't let your next call to a plumber break the bank. Call John at Black Sheep Plumbing. John is a Hoosier lifer who takes pride in and stands behind his work. That's why all basic services and repairs with Black Sheep Plumbing come with a 2-year parts and labor guarantee, with water heaters having a 6-year parts and tank guarantee. Call or text Black Sheep Plumbing for all your needs today and speak directly with John, the owner. 765-315-7558. That's Black Sheep Plumbing at 765-315-7558.
Hi, I'm John Piper. I'm running for Congress in Indiana. I'm the only candidate in the United States of America exposing the crisis we have in mother's breast milk. Purdue University is a major player in that. Purdue is selling our veterinarians to out-of-state corporations for big money. Bobby Kennedy needs to know about it effective immediately. We are 55,000 veterinarians short across the United States. My two major opponents, Craig Haggard and Jim Barrett, are both protecting the Iranian terror cell in Plainfield, Indiana. I'm John Piper. I approve this message. Paid for Friends for Piper for Congress.
Hey, it's Rob Kendall Show. Welcome back. Don't forget the website, robkendallshow.com. Joined by Indiana State Representative Carrie Hamilton. She's a Democrat from Indianapolis. Carrie, hello.
Hi, Rob.
Okay, so first big news. There's a couple things I want to get with you on. Midstates corridor, huge deal for you. I know you've really dug into that. That's awesome. Let's start with the gas tax. What sort of heads up did you guys get that the governor was going to suspend the sales tax on gas?
No heads up. You know, that's okay. That's how it goes.
Not even like a courtesy. Here's what's
not that I'm aware of. I certainly didn't find out until the news came out. Yeah.
So what do you like? When you hear about it, is there some sort of I mean, it's a bipartisan thing, right? I mean, it's going to affect the budgets of Hoosiers, going to affect the wallets of Hoosiers. There's no briefing afterwards, like nothing. It's just, okay, here it is. Boom, done.
Yeah. It's, that's the prerogative of the governor, I suppose, but that's how it was done this time around. Yeah.
Which seems very odd because the Democrats in this case, you guys have been asking for this for quite a while. It seems very weird that he would not want to include you guys in the process.
Well, I mean, that's how it is, Rob. I think we're in a moment of heightened partisanship, unfortunately. And I think that maybe that has played out here because, as you point out, I mean, Democrats certainly back in 2022, we pushed hard for this when gas prices skyrocketed after the Ukraine incursion began. We've talked about it for the last several weeks, and here we are.
Any idea what took so long? Because he comes out on March 9th and makes the statement. He says the Strait of Hormuz, the price of gas, that's what we'll look at, 2.5 to 3 weeks. That flies by, nothing. Any idea what took so long if he was going to do it?
Well, so Democrats would have done it weeks ago as gas prices were starting to skyrocket. We see political pressures are increasing dramatically. We're seeing Democratic landslides across the country. I think there's a lot of pressure and concern from incumbents that they're going to lose races. And so I certainly think politics must have played a role in this kind of late in the game decision.
Yeah, it was interesting because he blamed Washington, D.C. And we said on the show on Thursday, we said, your party is Washington, D.C. And he never mentioned that.
And if I believe it's true, I didn't go back to confirm this, but the Governor Braun put out a statement of support when we got into this war of choice several weeks ago. Did he not?
He was very supportive. Yes, yeah. Very supportive.
As an Army mom, as a Hoosier, as an American, I am not, for the record.
Okay, so let's talk about the suspension of the sales tax on gas. Do you think this is far enough? Would you like to see him do more? Will there be any, because there's some legal question, right, based on a previous opinion by Attorney General Greg Zeller, whether Braun can even do this. Do you think from your party there'll be any legal pushback on this?
I don't know. Of course not, because I think we want to do what we can to help Hoosiers be able to afford life these days. We've been fighting really hard for affordability measures. Obviously during the session earlier this year, we pushed hard to bring down utility rates. One example was eliminating the 7% sales tax on utility rates, which would have gone a lot farther to help Hoosiers with their pocketbooks, throughout this year. And unfortunately, that did not pass due to the Republican majority opposition.
State Representative Carrie Hamilton is our guest. So you mentioned those things. He comes out about affordability, and then Bray's talking about affordability, and Travis Holdman's talking about affordability. And I'm reading these quotes going, where were these people this past legislative session when they nixed all sorts of things that would have made life more affordable for me, a humble middle-class podcaster?
That's right. I mean, we forced votes on affordability measures that were shot down by them, and now they're talking about affordability. It makes you wonder.
How do you guys capitalize on this? Because you and I have had this conversation. Republicans are horrible. You guys got some screwballs too running for public office. Can you keep people in line, right? Your candidates this year saying, talk about these things, not the divisive social issues that don't resonate with people.
That's right. I mean, that's what we've been doing, right? The last 2 years, our agenda has been about affordability and supporting our schools. With redistricting, I think we were clearly shown to be the party of common sense and supporting our state and what's best for the state of Indiana, and getting back to focusing on helping Hoosiers thrive. And I think that message continues. We're continuing to do the work we've been doing. I think people are starting to see it more. We don't lift up those socially divisive bills in the Indiana State House. The Republican Party does. But now we've got real issues that we're fighting for. We've been able to get some good votes on. And like I said, we're breaking through.
Do you think this is far enough? Are you okay with the action that he took, or would you like to see more in terms of just dealing with gas and the price of gas?
Well, with the price of gas, this is probably the extent of what he could do. I think, again, there are other affordability measures we could take right now. In particular, I would look at that utility sales tax as a way that we could put hundreds of dollars back in Hoosiers' wallets every year. That's substantial. That helps people at this time of just skyrocketing utility needs costs. So, that's just one example. When we talk about gas taxes, we're talking about the source of road funding today in Indiana. And so, as you know, I've been lifting up concerns about appropriate funding for roads across the state and where that money should go. We have to maintain what we have, Rob. We have incredible road maintenance and improvement needs across the state. And I've highlighted the fact that, came up as a member of the House Roads and Transportation Committee. I learned back in January that we now have this new train highway in southern Indiana that's a high priority. At the same time, we've canceled hundreds of road projects across the state. I continue to work to learn more about this issue and to talk about this issue because I think it's really important for Hoosiers now and into the future. We have to have solid infrastructure, and I don't believe that funding this new train highway in southern Indiana is a responsible decision.
So let's talk about Midstates corridor, because you've been digging in on that. The State Transportation Committee, Jim Presley's a Republican. He had big issues with it. What have you found about the Midstates corridor? Where are we at with that? Is it dead? It seems like a horror movie character. We're just going to keep rising back from the grave. Well, you are in the State House. What are you finding?
Well, yeah, it kind of is a horror movie character. So I would say, the more I learn, the more kind of dumbfounded I am that this has risen now to the top of the funding list. The road has been studied in different iterations for many years, and the return on investment just hasn't broken through so that it would make sense for Indiana taxpayers to fund it. When I went down to one of the larger communities on the corridor, which is 231 today, Jasper, Indiana, I talked to a lot of folks, and of course, some people are concerned about the impact on their homes, et cetera. But I also learned, this existing road, with just a little bit of upgrade, can serve that community really well now and into the future. And in fact, folks down there are happy with it today. There is a little traffic. I live on the northeast side of Indianapolis. A little traffic is, that's what you have when you have a thriving, busy area, right? But nonetheless, Governor Holcomb had proposed investing $75 million to upgrade this existing corridor. And now we're talking about building a whole new road along this corridor for $3.5 billion minimum cost. It makes no sense for taxpayers.
Are people talking about this in the State House? And by talking about, I mean the fact that it is very clear, it's in the documents, that the governor's business would benefit substantially from this.
Well, yeah, that is coming up more and more. I mean, whether it's intentional or not, it looks bad. It doesn't really pass the smell test. He has a logistics business that would presumably benefit from having an exit right to his front door of his business onto a new highway, as opposed to having to drive on the existing road. There's some other stakeholders down there that have similar business interests that have been pushing this. You know, there is a question, Rob, when we go back to 2017, when the legislation was passed to create the Regional Development Authority that brings private funding into the table. Now we have this question of blending private dollars with public dollars and this kind of private voice making a decision that impacts public dollars into the future and really cutting out the public and public dollars. And I'm more and more concerned about that as well.
Who is pushing this outside of Braun? Because, like I said, Pressel had big concerns on it, and when they had that hearing with INDOT, it was like, well, you're in charge. You allocate the money. If you're concerned about it, cut off the money. Who's the next bad guy we have to go after with this?
I'm not quite sure. I don't think it's anyone in the state house other than the governor, who's obviously clearly supportive of this. And I will share with you, I had someone, an employee of INDOT, come up to me confidentially at a public gathering maybe a month ago and say, thank you for bringing up this concern, because we are, within the agency, the folks who manage road projects every year after year, and do really good work, are kind of dumbfounded that suddenly this is being elevated while all of their big projects they've had in the pipeline to keep our infrastructure strong have been canceled.
A couple of minutes left with Indiana State Representative Carrie Hamilton. Are you guys on the other side of the aisle watching these Senate primaries and all the money that's being spent against your current colleagues? Is that even on your radar?
Well, I mean, sure. I don't spend a lot of time thinking about it, but it's hard to miss when you see commercials during national championship games, going after one of their own.
Are you surprised by, it just seems very odd to me, if the goal was to win the first congressional district, you're spending 20 or 30 or however many millions of dollars against people who voted against redistricting when you could just go win the district.
Yeah, right. It is a little bit dumbfounding to me, Rob, but hey, this is the political world we're living in right now. Certainly the Republican Party world we're living in.
What is a realistic opportunity for Democrats this year? I don't think you think you're going to get back the majority, but what do you say in the House and Senate we can realistically gain if all the cards sort of fall the right way?
Well, I'll just speak for the House as the House caucus chair. I do believe we have a real opportunity to break the supermajority, which means flipping 4 seats. And I think it's entirely possible that we flip several more. We have incredible candidates, community leaders across the state, good common sense folks running for House seats, really in the majority of seats across the state. And so people have good choices. And I think they're going to be looking beyond pulling the party lever that they have in many communities at their options, and they're going to be happy with what they see.
You got a take on your own Secretary of State's race? Because I feel like you guys are really good at snatching defeat from the jaws of victory. Bo Biden kind of seems like a winner to me. And the fact that there's some doubt about some guy that's going to spend $10 million and look straight out of central casting, I say it's a very Democrat thing. Where are you at on this?
Yeah, so I'm not a delegate. I'm not going to be voting. I have endorsed Bo Bai. I've gotten to know him. I really like him. He's working hard. I think he's going to earn the support of delegates at the convention. We'll see how that goes.
State Representative Carrie Hamilton, thank you. Thanks for digging in on this Midstates corridor thing. It's that is a help to a lot of people down there. There's a lot of good people that are potentially losing their farms and everything else. So thank you for doing that. Thanks for spending some time with us.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Are you seeing cracks in mortar, moisture working through walls, facade or structural failure beginning to surface? Bramwell Mackay sets the standard for exterior and structural building solutions. Our 40-year master masons and industry experts address moisture intrusion, failing foundations, masonry deterioration, and more. From preserving historic landmarks to addressing modern building envelope issues, Bramwell Mackay delivers full-spectrum service with white-glove professionalism. In Indianapolis, call 812-33-BRICK. 812-33-BRICK.
Hi, I'm John Piper. I'm running for Congress in Indiana. I'm the only candidate in the United States of America exposing the crisis we have in mother's breast milk. Purdue University is a major player in that. Purdue is selling our veterinarians to out-of-state corporations for big money. Bobby Kennedy needs to know about it effective immediately. We are 55,000 veterinarians short across the United States. My two major opponents, Craig Haggard and Jim Barrett, are both protecting the Iranian terror cell in Plainfield, Indiana. I'm John Piper. I approve this message. Paid for Friends for Piper for Congress.
Buying a home or thinking about refinancing? Work with someone local who understands the central Indiana market. Gary Tedrow with Verity Mortgage helps homebuyers and homeowners explore options for purchasing, refinancing, or even consolidating higher interest debt through their mortgage. Gary's approach is simple, clear advice, and personalized guidance so you can make confident decisions. Visit loansbygary.homes to learn more or get started today. You've got nothing to lose but dollars on your mortgage payment. So call for a free, no-obligation quote, 317-695-5179. Gary Tedrow, NMLS number 179207 with Verity Mortgage, NMLS number 70345, an equal housing opportunity lender.
I'm Doug Cobb for Clay County Commissioner. I'm running to bring transparency back to our local government. As a concerned citizen, I want to know what's going on. We need new and fresh ideas for today's challenges. We need a vision for future generations. As a small business owner, I want to explore and promote opportunities to make us all successful. Let's create a brighter future for Clay County together. I'm Doug Cobb, running for Clay County Commissioner, and I approve this message. Paid for by Linda Cheesem.
Hey guys, welcome back. Rob Kendall Show. The IEDC, this is going to be very shocking to you guys. The IEDC is a super corrupt, really rotten organization. And we'll talk about the latest shenanigans somebody tried to pull here in just a second. But first, let me tell you about our friends at Baltus Travel. You guys know I really hate to leave my house. And we joke a lot about my fear of flying. And a major reason that I don't want to leave my house, look, I do fear getting on an airplane, but I could manage that. Major reason is I just don't know where to start when it comes to planning a trip. And now I don't have that problem anymore, because I got Adam Baltus and Baltus Travel Service. Adam is a one-stop shop. Whatever adventure you want to take anywhere in the world. Handles it all. Hotels, car rentals, flights, you name it. And the great thing is, in most cases, Baltus Travel Service won't make your excursion cost a dime extra. You've got someone taking all the worry out of planning the trip, but it's not going to cost you an extra dime in most cases. Sign me up for that. Adam is certified through most major cruise lines, as well as Disney and Universal theme parks. Get started today by calling Baltus Travel Services at 812-593-7561, 812-593-7561, or visit baltustravel.com, BALTUS travel.com. Coming up here, just a little bit, we're going to have a very interesting conversation about what's going on in Shelbyville, and it relates to the data centers. And we talked about the other day that there are all these red flags about how the data center is being handled in Shelbyville when you have your planning commission giving an overwhelming negative recommendation, unanimous negative recommendation. Their job is to understand the ordinances. Their job is to understand the rules that are written for your community and enforce those and take the politics out of it. And the negative, unanimous, it was all of them, said no dice on this massive data center, 500 plus acres. And yet the city council just overrode the planning commission. People out there are outraged over this. And I said, we got to get to the bottom of what's going on, because it's a part of a broader conversation about how we've got to have some form of dealing with data centers in Indiana. Not dealing with in a negative sense, dealing with in a responsible sense. Because right now it's a Wild West, and the state will not put minimum requirements, minimum standards around these data centers. And it's hurting everyone. The data center has no idea if their project's going to get approved in a community. They have no idea if political backlash will stop them at the last minute. So they invest all this money. It ends up not working. You have the communities that are outraged. It tears communities apart. And then the government gets stuck in the middle. And I say stuck in the middle. Government's a bad guy here. Government can enforce their own regulations at a local level. But since local governments don't appear to be willing to do that, we as a state have got to have this conversation and set a minimum set of requirements for data centers, because this cannot continue. So we're going to talk with a group that is trying to push back on this data center in Shelbyville. And this is the conversations that are happening in a lot of communities across our state. So that's coming up here in just a little bit. Stick around for that. In the meantime, if you guys haven't yet, like our feed, like what we're doing here today live on YouTube, hit that little thumbs up button. Also, if you haven't, please subscribe to our channel. That's super helpful. And share us. Facebook, Twitter. Somebody told me today, I did not know this, producer Jason. Somebody told me today there is a lady who shares us on TikTok. Like all the time, there's a lady, a fabulous lady. Somebody told me, they said, I saw your video on TikTok. I said, I can assure you I don't have TikTok. I am deathly afraid of TikTok. Anything run by China, I'm afraid of. And they said, no, you're on TikTok all the time. I said, how? And then they sent me the feed, and there is some super fan who shares us on TikTok all the time. And I guess we get hundreds and thousands of views every day from our show or parts of our show on TikTok. So to that lady, thank you. You're a A+, you're a real one. And by the way, if you're seeing us on TikTok, if you're one of these people who I've found me to TikTok that I didn't know I was on until today, Rob Kendall Show on YouTube, give us a subscribe. Give us a little thumbs up. Help us out. All right, so let's get to this article from the Indiana Capitol Chronicle. And is it profanity if I start blocking out letters, like on social media? Like if I say the word, but I hit the little asterisk sign, does that count as profanity? That's sort of like bleeping, right? I did put some profanity. I'm so mad about the IEDC that I did use some profanity yesterday. I used the big one yesterday on Twitter, but I bleeped it out. I put the little asterisk sign in there. So I think that's the radio equivalent of bleeping something out. Jason says it's acceptable. Okay. I am so mad about this IEDC, the Indiana Economic Development Corporation, because it just seems like everything with them is shady. Everything with them is shifty. Everything comes off as some sort of scheme or scam. Like they're always trying to cut corners. Always. Holcomb, Braun, it doesn't matter. They hide behind being the shadow quasi-government entity, and it just seems like they just always try, the people involved with it, the institution itself, it just seems like it's getting abused to the max. Now, I'm not saying every employee of the IEDC, I'm not saying that. But I'm just saying headline after headline, it's like, can't you guys just go above and beyond to be above board for once? Listen to this story from the Indiana Capitol Chronicle about the latest with an IEDC employee. The State Ethics Commission on Thursday unanimously found that a statutory one-year, quote, cooling off period applies to a former state official hoping to accept a job offer at a company whose contracts he previously oversaw. So according to the State Ethics Commission, this guy oversaw contracts with the IEDC, according to the State Ethics Commission, their interpretation, with this company. And this dude, within days of leaving the IEDC, was trying to get a job with this company. The state has a requirement for a large swath of people that says if you make decisions about procurements of funds, I'm simplifying the ordinance, but basically what it says is if you make a decision about securing or dispersing a procurement of funds, you have to wait a year before you can go work for somebody. Well, duh, right? Like, shouldn't that be obvious that if you control where money goes, you shouldn't just be able to go work for that company? Kind of seems like having that is done because you don't want people being involved in corrupt behavior. You don't want people potentially accepting bribes. You don't want people going, yeah, give us this contract, then we'll give you a, $500,000 job here. Like, it seems like the most basic of common sense. But according to the Capitol Chronicle, Matthew Wade was the senior vice president of marketing at the Indiana Economic Development Corporation until Friday, January 16th. He retires. By Tuesday, January 20th, and by the way, senior vice president of marketing, that seems pretty high up on the food chain. That's not a paper pusher. That's not just some stooge cleaning the toilets. That's a pretty big position. So he retires on January 16th. You have to know what the ordinance is, right? Everybody knows in state government what this ordinance is and why it's there. By Tuesday, January 20th, according to the Capitol Chronicle, he had an offer to become a senior strategist at Marketing Alliance, an economic development marketing firm based in Florida and Texas. I don't know about you guys, but retirement to me means like, hey, I'm kind of done here. I want to go play golf every day. Or I want to go work on my cars. Or I want to go to flea markets. Like, that's what retirement means to me. Retirement to me, and look, people sometimes they retire and 4 or 5 years later they go get a job somewhere. I'm bored. I want to go do something. Or I still have the fire that I thought I didn't have anymore. Now, me, producer Jason, we've accepted we're never going to be able to retire. Our retirement will be when we go in the box. That will be retirement for us because we are poor people. But that's like what I get that people get jobs after retirement. I'm not disputing that. But you retired on January 16th and January 20th, you're trying to accept a job with the company that the IEDC was doing business with? So as I said, state law mandates that former state employees wait a full year before accepting job offers or receiving compensation from employers with which they negotiated or administered contracts if they had decision-making powers over those agreements. So that's important. We're going to come back to this in a second. Reminder, they have to wait. It's very clear. Like when I worked in state government, I knew this. There's they call it a cooling off period. Full year before accepting job offers or receiving compensation from employers with which they negotiated or administered contracts. And this is the other part is key. If they had decision-making powers over those agreements. Again, this guy's title. He was the senior vice president of marketing. Seems really high up. Senior vice president seems like you're making some choices. Like you're saying yes or no to some things to the layperson. According to the Capitol Chronicle, in his submission to the commission, Wade reported participating in procurement and negotiation work for approximately 10 contracts with Marketing Alliance among the vendors. Literally, that's the law. It seems very clear here as the Capitol Chronicle describes it, what this guy was doing, and he was trying to cut a corner, it comes off as. Well, I know what the law is, but hey, you guys go cut me a break? Because if, it doesn't matter what the law says, if the Ethics Commission says go for it, you basically got to get out of jail free card. Okay, so now listen to the Capitol Chronicle's recounting, because they had a reporter there to this hearing. The Ethics Commission's hearings are public. Listen to how the Capitol Chronicle describes this, and you tell me if this sounds shifty as hell to you. I've laid out the statute. We've laid out what this guy is. We've laid out his position. Wade's defense on all of this was, well, I didn't technically make the final call. Listen to the back and forth on this. So here is what Wade said. He said, quote, I was not the signatory or final decision maker. But then Ethics Commissioner Raymond Biederman, I think that's how he pronounces his name, Biederman, said he had found Wade's signatures on an agreement with Marketing Alliance. Your title is Senior Vice President of Marketing. Clearly that to the average person says there's some decision making that goes on there. Your signature is found by one of these commissioners on an agreement with Marketing Alliance you're trying to get a job with, conveniently 4 days after you retired. And this guy in the hearing goes, I was not the signatory or the final decision maker. Wade said he signed off on the scope of work, including an addendum after the contract. Like, these people are just shameless. The commission, however, concluded that Wade had substantial decision-making powers, citing the influence his recommendations had in whether a contract could move forward. Bingo. Like, these people just have no decency about them whatsoever. And it's not just the IEDC, it's all sorts of elected officials. Where it's not even what the letter of the law is, it's you're a seemingly fully functioning adult. What does common sense tell you? Like, what does any person with any amount of decency, hey, I was at this place, whether by the letter of the law, which, again, the commission seemed to think he did, but even if he didn't, how would this play out? How would this look? How would this appear to the average person? How would this come off to the taxpayers? There's none of this here. These guys, and there was a guy that worked for Braun who got a waiver, and I don't even have time to get into it, who got a waiver. And I'm reading his circumstances going, well, that sounds shifty as hell, and they gave it to him. Okay, let me read you the back and forth. This is between the commissioner, Robert Duncan, and Wade. Quote, this is actual transcript according to the Capitol Chronicle. Do you have any friends of acquaintances that are currently employed by Marketing Alliance? Wade admits he, quote, knows a lot of the team. Do you ever socialize with them, Duncan asks. Wade, yes. And during those socialization events, did you ever mention to them that you were looking for something after you retired? After a long pause, Wade replied, yes. He was plotting to do this. There's no debate about it. This is the Indiana Economic Development Corporation. This is why I got so mad the other day when Matt Gentry was in here trying to pass these guys off as some decency do-gooders. This is the Indiana Economic Development Corporation. This is how they work. This is how they operate. So when he was trying to be like, well, those Three Kings guys weren't affiliated with what's going on with LEAP. It's the whole company. It's the whole organization. It's the foundation. It's everything. People should be outraged that our state government keeps funding this monstrosity. Well, no money to help parents stay home with their highly disabled children. Nope, Medicaid's broke. Can't help you with that. But there's $1 billion Braun just signed off on for more of this BS. It's going to keep going. These are the sort of people that are making the calls. The Three Kings article, people from IndyStar, that's who's making the calls. Why would we think the organization would be any different than it actually is? Any person. I mean, what these hearings are doing is it is exposing the incestuous relationship between people using their power in government to leverage cushy, big-paying jobs in the private sector. This is why our state has gone to complete crap. This is why our country has gone to complete crap. Because you have people in positions of authority who should see this as, this is the greatest honor to be bestowed upon someone, that you are put in a position of trust, billions of dollars of trust over other people's money that they worked their ass off to earn. That's the position this guy was in. That's the position these other people are in. Money is taken from you by force. It is given to these people, this company, this quasi-government entity, and they're just trying to cut every corner imaginable. Again, let me read you the back and forth. Do you ever socialize with any of them? Yes. And during these socialization events, did you ever mention to them you were looking for something after you retired? Yes. He didn't retire because he was done. He retired because he knew there was a cash out in front of him. And the worst that could happen to him is he tries, and unfortunately for him, he got caught and got turned down. But he'd have been rolling in dough. That's what Mr. Wade should change his name to. Rolling in dough. He should have to go down to the Social Security office and change his name to Rolling in Dough. This IEDC cannot be fixed. It can't be reformed. It can't be revamped. It is corrupt by its design. It is designed to withhold information from you, to make it hard for you to get the information, to do things that state government can't do. Look, this guy got shut down, but this is embarrassing. This is embarrassing that he even tried to do this. You are in a position of public trust. You were a high executive, sir. Common sense, any sense of decency would tell you, hey, if there's even a sense of impropriety, I was put in this big position of trust. I got these benefits, off of this organization that's funded by the taxpayers. I'm going to go work at Menards for a year. I'm going to go Lowe's for a year. And then, hey, if you're that great, then this organization would surely pick you back up, right? But no, 4 days later, and he admits what he was doing. And it's a shame that this ethics commission, who, by the way, they let these guys get away with stuff all the time and shouldn't get away with. It comes off to the average person as sketchy as hell. But they had to pry it out of him. They had to pry it out of him. And he knew he was caught. That's why he took the long pause before he said yes. And by the way, thank God for the Indiana Capitol Chronicle. That's why we promote Nikki Kelly. That's why we have her on our show. Thank God for them. They cover stuff that nobody else is talking about. They go in, they do the reporting, the nuts and bolts, and that's important stuff. That segment we just did, that's important stuff. You deserve to know. And I only know because I read about it in places like the Capitol Chronicle. So thank you to them. If you haven't yet, get over there, bookmark that website, read that stuff, IndianaCapitalChronicle.com. Hey, before choosing a mortgage, it's smart to talk with someone you trust and can actually sit down with because he's local. Gary Tedrow with Verity Mortgage is a local lender helping buyers and homeowners across central Indiana with home purchases, refinancing, and strategies to manage debt using home equity. Gary focuses on education and guidance so you understand your options before making a decision. No pressure, just solid advice from someone like you. To see what may be possible for you, visit loansbygary.homes. Loansbygary.homes or call 317-695-5179. 317-695-5179. You got nothing to lose? Give Gary a call. Tell him what your situation is. Tell him how your mortgage is shaping up, what you're paying. He'll take a look. If he can beat it, you're in the money. If not, well, you made a friend. Gary Tedrow, in MLS, number 179207 with Verity Mortgage, in MLS, number 70345, an equal housing opportunity lender. Okay, lots more to get to coming up here in just a little bit. We're going to have Connie Lindsay. She is from this group in Shelby County that is fighting back against this, really rotten, really red flag data center. This is a monstrous project, 500 plus acres. The way it went down is just horrible. And this is going to be a fascinating conversation about this whole process. I think you're going to be outraged by the time you hear, according to her, what actually went down. But before we do that, this is a story that keeps going, and now it has reemerged, and that is the acquisition of WRTV 6 by DeJuan McCoy, who owns Circle City Broadcasting, which is Wish TV. And I have been floored at the the interest in this, the outrage over this. And now it is getting fired back up again because DeJuan McCoy, who owns Circle City Broadcasting, did an interview on a podcast called Leaders and Legends. Now, a couple of things we need to disclose. Leaders and Legends is part of Wish TV's podcasting network, so it is part of a network DeJuan McCoy owns. Also, Leaders and Legends, full disclosure, is produced by our landlords. So the people that we do business with here, they are the Leaders and Legends podcast. Leaders and Legends, though, and I've been on Leaders and Legends long before I was part of any of this, way back years ago when I was at WIBC. Leaders and Legends is and I'm not saying it because they're landlords, I'm saying it because it's true. Leaders and Legends is really, and it's been going on for close to a decade now, is really a historical accounting for the city of Indianapolis. Robert Vane is the host of the program, and Robert Vane was a part of State Party for years, as State Party communications director. Robert Vane was Greg Ballard's communications director, and he now runs a communications company where he works for a variety of government and private sector entities doing communications. And this is his hobby, and it's fascinating. If you guys have not checked it out, wait until noon, but check out leadersandlegends.net. And he has interviewed some really fascinating people who have been incredibly significant in the history of the city of Indianapolis. And that's what he does each week. One of those weeks years ago, I was for a long time. I don't know if I still am. I still was his number one listened to podcast. People were outraged in the establishment community that he had me on. And he was like, hey, Rob produces numbers. So leadersandlegends.net, if you want to hear old episodes of the podcast, if you're into the history of Indianapolis, it's really a great way to trace that. And he's interviewed people, some of them that are no longer with us now. It's really, really fascinating. Anyway, all of that to be said, DeJuan McCoy, who owns WRTV 6 now, owned Wish TV before, he went on the Leaders and Legends podcast. And he talked a lot about what people are upset about, which is the firing, the dismissal of so many of the WRTV 6 employees. And according to the Indy Star, who did a big article about this, and by the way, you can go hear this interview later if you want as well, McCoy told Leaders and Legends that the reductions, and this is what I've said, reductions were a common part of mergers and acquisitions. McCoy noted that many of the WRTV 6 people who were let go had jobs already being filled by people who were working for Wish TV. Now, those people are just going to start getting overworked, right? Full disclosure, that's how this goes. Having been a part of a massive merger between giant corporations, when MS was sold to Urban One, I've been through this. The This is what corporations do. And look, DeJuan McCoy's a local guy. You know, it's a corporation, though. It's a company. It's a giant company. You don't pay $83 million for a TV station unless you own a company. And so what happens? It happened numerous times when I was at Urban One. I made it through about 6 rounds of layoffs. I think number 7 was the one that got me. In my case, the layoff was a party of one. It was me. But I made it through numerous rounds of layoffs. And what happens is the company says either, and I'm not saying Urban One said this directly, but I'm saying this is what normally happens. Either we're losing money, or we're not as profitable as we want to be, or we've got to figure out a way to reduce cost to get our profit target where we want it to be. We have this job that someone does, and somebody over here does something similar. We're going to make Aaron work twice as hard, and we're going to get rid of Sylvia. Just the names were totally made up. They're not real people. And so that's basically what DeJuan's saying. DeJuan McCoy is saying, I bought this company. I am here to make money. This person does the same job that the guy at Wish is doing. I'm going to make the guy at Wish work harder, and the guy at Wish can decide whether he wants a job or not. That's the way corporations work. Quote, this is what McCoy said. When businesses merge, they have a right to synergize and not duplicate bodies. I don't need 2 directors of sales. I don't need as many producers as they had. I don't need engineers because I'm running the same facility as Wish TV. Now, he got into whether there's going to be as much local content, because one of the sales pitches that McCoy made to the FCC to get this approval done was he said, I will keep at or enhance the level of local content with WRTV 6. And so he's getting pressed on, how the hell are you going to do this? Which I think it's a worthy question. How are you going to do this if you're cutting people out of the newsroom, out of the on-air staff, out of these production positions? He said, quote, I'm never cutting journalism. I have never cut journalism, ever in the history of DeJuan McCoy's TV. We will do more local stories. We will do more local content. We'll have more bodies on the street generating articles and content for our local community. He also went on to say that one-day layoffs don't necessarily indicate that an employee's time with the company is over. So he's saying some of these people may come back in new positions. Now, this is going to be very interesting because there's been such media attention to this that the public is fully aware that the way McCoy got the FCC to approve this merger was promising that the local content was not going to go away. So he's going to have to produce that, or he could end up in big trouble. Now, look, like I've said, I met DeJuan McCoy. In fact, I just messaged with him the other day. I'm not saying I'm friends with him. I'm not saying we're buddies or hang out together, but I've met him. His story is fascinating. He is truly a guy, a self-made dude. He's a guy who pulled himself up by his bootstraps. He looked at a TV company he was working for. He said, this sucks. They're doing everything wrong. Put all his money together and bought his own TV station and made a fortune. Like, he's an American success story. He's really eccentric. He's wild. But I've been around a lot of wild, eccentric people, rich people in my days. I like them. I like people who make money. Maybe that's like in The Wedding Singer. I like money. I have a little bit of it. Keep it in a jar above the refrigerator. That's where you come in. I'd like for you to give me more money. I need more rich friends. I'm very candid about that. I don't have any rich friends. That's my problem. It's not that I don't have enough. I don't have any. I think rich people are fascinating to me because I enjoy hearing how they earn their money. And most rich people I've been around in my life are eccentric. Normal people don't have the mindset, for the most part, to start a business, to run a business, to deal with the suffering that comes with owning a business. And you've got to be pretty cutthroat in a cutthroat world. And I'm saying this as a positive, to make a bunch of money and build a TV empire like a DeJuan McCoy has. So like when I met with him, it wasn't like, whoa, what is this? It's like, this is what I expect. And I think quite candidly, any entrepreneur that you met, like I don't consider guys or girls who are like VPs of mega media corps. Like I don't consider that entrepreneurial. They're suits. I'm not saying that in a negative. They run corporations the way other people run other corporations. Like if you met the guy who is a high level dude at Wendy's or Arby's or whatever, like probably not going to wow you with the, eccentric behavior because he's running something or she's running something for somebody else, for shareholders. Her or his ass is not on the line, other than as long as the company makes some level of money. As long as it's good enough for whatever the shareholders demand, that's good enough for them. It's why the media industry is in the position it's in. We have too many megacorps and not enough eccentric local guys, which is why TV became great. It's funny. I was listening last night. Many of you know, who are longtime viewers. I know we have a lot of new people. My radio mentor was a guy by the name of Jay Baker. Jay Baker was, for years, famous in Indianapolis radio as an integral part of the Bob and Tom show at what people consider to be the heyday of Bob and Tom, the mid-'80s through the '90s. And I met Jay when I was very young, and he took me under his wing. And a lot of what I became and the way I broadcast things I do was because of Jay. I learned from Jay. He was very kind to me. And I went back last night. You guys ever get down the YouTube rabbit hole? You guys do this where you start with one thing and then you're but 30 minutes later, you're like, how the hell did I get here? What am I doing? I somehow ended up on an old episode of Bob and Tom. Now, you guys know Bob and Tom had albums that came out for years, the greatest hits, the thing people like most. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about an actual air check of the Bob and Tom show. 30 minutes of just them doing regular random Tuesday radio. And Jay Baker did a very popular bit called Dick's Picks, where he pretended to be Dick Nixon, the former president of the United States. And he had these little cast of characters be around him. And it's 30 minutes of these guys, Bob and Tom and Jay Baker and Mark Mutch, who did the Haji character, all of these guys in a room together. And I'm listening to this and I'm like, this is so freaking good. And it was a random Tuesday morning, and they give the time. It's 9:56. It's not something that they were sending to win a Marconi, right? It's just a bunch of guys doing their regular routine. And I'm listening to this going, this is better than anything on radio right now. 4 guys in a room screwing around because of the freedom, because the people who owned them believed in them. They knew them. They were invested in them. I don't think in the 9 years I worked at WIBC, I had one meeting with Jeff Smulyan. One time, I had one conversation with him in his office that I had to book. And I think I saw the owner of Urban One through a glass window once. I don't think I ever had a conversation with him. If I did, it was very, very brief. No more than, hey, hello. I guarantee the people who owned Q95 in the 80s, they knew everything about Bob and Tom. And Christy and Chick and Jay Baker, and they were invested in it. And I've heard the stories about it. Even when corporations got involved, the management, the people, the decision makers were invested as time went on, and corporations started buying these stations, at least in the beginning. We had eccentric people running these industries, and that's why they were great. You had eccentric people who got what the talent was about. They got what the talent did. They got why the talent resonated. You don't have that anymore. With the DeJuan McCoy, at least you got a chance. You have at least a chance that he will see somebody and go, that person's great. Let's elevate them. I get what they're doing. Everybody, afternoon today, go listen to Leaders and Legends interview. I thought it was super interesting. I think it taught me a lot about, I knew a lot of it, but look, I think everybody needs to calm down on freaking out about this merger, because I think it may end up being really good. Another company that is really good, Bramwell Mackay. Leaky chimney, water in the basement, cracks around the exterior of your home. Bramwell Mackay Property Services and Consultants is your authority for chimney repair, tuck pointing, foundation repair, crawl space to basement conversions, basement waterproofing, and more. Bramwell Mackay doesn't offer quick patches. Their team of 40-year master masons and industry experts address the root cause and provide solutions that last lifetimes. Your home is one of your biggest investments. Treat it that way. Bramwell Mackay. BRAMWELLMCKAY.com, your masonry foundation and chimney specialist. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, Connie Lindsay is going to be with us. She is with a group of very passionate, concerned citizens fighting this data center in Shelbyville. And whether you live in Shelbyville or not, you need to not only pay attention to this conversation, but alert your friends and get them to our feed, because these data centers are happening everywhere. And probably, better chance than not, they're going to happen somewhere near you in the near future. You need to know what's going on in other places so you know how to address it when it happens to you. We'll be back. You're watching Rob Kendall Show.
Hi, I'm Lauren Wilson, a realtor with App Properties. Born and raised right here in central Indiana and a Hoosier through and through. Selling your home is a massive undertaking, and I completely understand what that is. That's why when you work with me, we put a great plan together to make sure that when your home comes to the market, it is in the best light possible. Again, I'm Lauren Wilson, 317-590-2290, 317-590-2290. Let's put a plan together and get your home sold.
I'm Doug Cobb for Clay County Commissioner. I'm running to bring transparency back to our local government. As a concerned citizen, I want to know what's going on. We need new and fresh ideas for today's challenges. We need a vision for future generations. As a small business owner, I want to explore and promote opportunities to make us all successful. Let's create a brighter future for Clay County together. I'm Doug Cobb, running for Clay County Commissioner, and I approve this message. Paid for by Linda Cheesem.
Right now, everything's expensive. That includes things you need around the house. If your water heater, water softener, or well pump goes out, or even if your toilet stops working, you could be looking at a major expense. Don't let your next call to a plumber break the bank. Call John at Black Sheep Plumbing. John is a Hoosier lifer who takes pride in and stands behind his work. That's why all basic services and repairs with Black Sheep Plumbing come with a 2-year parts and labor guarantee, with water heaters having a 6-year parts and tank guarantee. Call or text Black Sheep Plumbing for all your needs today and speak directly with John, the owner. 765-315-7558. That's Black Sheep Plumbing at 765-315-7558.
Hi, I'm John Piper. I'm running for Congress in Indiana. I'm the only candidate in the United States of America exposing the crisis we have in mother's breast milk. Purdue University is a major player in that. Purdue is selling our veterinarians to out-of-state corporations for big money. Bobby Kennedy needs to know about it effective immediately. We are 55,000 veterinarians short across the United States. My two major opponents, Craig Haggard and Jim Barrett, are both protecting the Iranian terror cell in Plainfield, Indiana. I'm John Piper. I approve this message. Paid for Friends for Piper for Congress.
Welcome back to the Rob Kendall Show. Story we touched on a couple days ago. Giant red flags for me as a former local elected official. In Shelbyville, the Shelbyville City Council overrode a negative recommendation from their planning commission that would allow a massive data center on close to 600 acres. Now, a lot of people are very upset. A lot of people have been pushing back. And now that the city council has overrode the planning commission to move forward with this, coupled with the city seemingly kind of being in cahoots as it relates to land use with the data center, people are getting really mad and pushing back. And with us here is one of the fabulous people who has been advocating against data centers, or a data center going in Shelbyville for quite a while. Her name is Connie Lindsay. Connie, tell us a little bit about your group that's been fighting back against data centers in Shelbyville.
Sure. Well, we have a leadership team that has really helped make this very visible. We have over 2,500 members on our Facebook page, Shelby County Citizens Against Data Center. I have over 7,200 signed petitions against the annexation and rezoning. And then we have another 2,500 wet signatures with the same petition against the rezoning, the annexation, and the data center.
Shelby County Citizens Against Data Centers. You guys got a Facebook page, right?
We do.
Okay. So let's talk about what happened the other night, because look, I have said data centers, they're not all bad. We need them. We got to figure out how to work with the communities. We got to figure out how to work with data centers. We got to work with the governments, and nobody's working together right now. But when I see a planning commission give a negative recommendation, and then on something of this magnitude, it gets overridden by the city council, my antennas go up. Tell us what happened the other night.
Well, I went very quickly. And it caught all of us off guard because since January 5th, the first city council meeting that we all attended, which was the first reading for this rezoning and annexation, we were told that the vote would only be concerning the annexation and rezoning. And in fact, what made everybody irate was that they added in accepting the data center.
Okay, so this is important, and it's kind of in the weeds, but it's really important. This was just for the actual act of saying, okay, it's ag, now it's industrial, for lack of a better term. This is, we're moving it from this to this, then we'll deal with if the data center's right later. Now they lumped it all into one thing.
That's correct.
With no notice for the community that they were going to do this.
Well, we knew that the big vote was April 6th, but we had no idea that they were going to lump in the approval of the data center.
Yeah. Okay. So Connie Lindsay is our guest. She's with the group called Shelby County Citizens Against Data Centers. Did they give any reason why they overrode the planning commission? This is what I can't figure out. Your planning commission's job is to understand, know your ordinances, take the emotion out of it. They don't have to deal with political pressures. And they said no dice. Did they go into what they thought the planning commission got wrong?
They have not answered any of those questions, but I can give you 25 million reasons why they overrode it.
Go for it. We're here. We're listening.
It's called $25 million.
Well, okay, let's talk about that for a second. You say $25 million. Who is getting $25 million? Who's contributing? Where's it going?
Sure. Prologis, and I think we sent to you the actual documents that the city of Shelbyville voted on and allowed Monday night, that $25 million will go to the city, and then $1 million at the finish of each of the 11 buildings that are proposed. And we're not foolish enough to think that this is where it's going to end. As with all data centers, hyperscale, they continue to add more and more acreage and more buildings. And then they also offered $200,000 at the signing of the contract, which we don't have Prologis' signature yet, but I'm pretty confident it's probably there. $200,000 goes to the city to defray any of the costs for all of this, meaning the attorney, because our city hired at the citizens' expense not only our city attorney, but an extra attorney, Janik, or I think he pronounces his name Janak, out of Bose. He came in and he was the one that actually presented all of this at the Monday night meeting. And I mean, it just got shoved right through.
Well, okay, wait. Okay, and Connie Lindsay is our guest. She's with the group called Shelby County Citizens Against Data Centers. You can read all the documents, everything they've got. It's up there on their Facebook page. So you've got the data center company, which I saw the number was something like, what is it, 11 to 13 buildings eventually are going to be built on this campus?
Well, it started out as 13, and now they're saying 11.
Okay, now they pared it back to 11. It's something like it's well over 500 acres, correct, of land that we're talking about here. And somehow the city's involved with this, right? The city did they help with land acquisition? It was kind of unclear how the city paired up with this data center company.
Okay, so there were 138 acres that was already zoned IG, and the Shelbyville Redevelopment Corp is the one whose name is on the title for it. So Shelbyville Redevelopment Corp, of course, is a subsidiary of Shelbyville City, and they're the ones that were approached, as far as we know, because frankly, everything has been behind that wonderful veil that they always bring out, that veil that nobody can ever get behind.
Right.
And so then the adjacent 429 additional acres, which was zoned ag, that was adjacent, at least a small portion of it, to the 138 acres, was then asked if they wanted to become a part of the city annexation, and then the rezone IG so that they could make a whopping, we don't know, but we do know that the city received $56,500 per acre.
Okay, so this is the other part of the red flag for me. There's just like red flags all over the place as a former local government official. You not only have overriding the planning commission, but the city, it seems like, profiting off of ignoring its own rules, or at least what the planning commission felt were the rules, and basically for profit going against the people that are supposed to interpret the ordinances as have been written, as have been acted, and saying, this doesn't fit with what the plans or the rules that have been passed are. Am I missing something?
No, and just so everybody understands, the Planning Commission of Shelbyville unanimously voted against this going forward. But the city prodded on.
So literally every member who voted, and again, I know, and we try to always educate people, right? And on this, the planning commission's job is essentially to be the first layer before an item gets to the city or town government. Their job is to offer a recommendation, taking all the emotion, all the politics out. Here's what your ordinances say. Based on what your own ordinances are written, here is the recommendation we give to you. And you are saying based on that, everyone voted no.
That is correct.
Okay. So, again, these data centers are so complicated. I just want to make sure that each step I'm not missing anything, at least from your perspective. So you've got the city government overriding their planning commission. You've got the city government also, for lack of a better term, in cahoots with the data center, selling land, conceivably making money off the sale of the land. And then according to you, you've got tens of millions of dollars changing hands between the developer and the city.
Yes. And it truly could go to the Shelbyville Redevelopment Corp. Again, a subsidiary of the city of Shelbyville, but it does have a different entity and a name, which is interesting in itself. And believe me, we're still digging. There is so much going on. It's unbelievable.
Were you guys allowed to speak at the meeting the other night?
No.
So
No.
they don't have citizens comments for you guys to be able to get up
They
and
did not allow it this time. And we all know why.
do they normally allow citizens comments?
Yes.
Well, I feel like I must be missing something. Like normally they let people get up and speak and then they
You're
just
not missing a thing.
Okay. So did they but they didn't give any reasons why they think this is great. They didn't say, "Hey, this is all the jobs it's going to create," which we know the data centers don't create jobs. None of that.
Well, I will say that I did meet with one of the city council members a week before this vote, and it was a 2-hour conversation. And we all knew going in what we thought the bottom line was. But I asked him at the beginning of our conversation, why? What is it that's so great about this? And the only thing he could do was say that the money that the city's going to be getting will help with the fire trucks, will help with the police department, will help with the parks department. So, and then at the end of the 2-hour conversation, I asked once again, I said, so is the bottom line, the only reason we're really going forward this is because of the money? And his answer was yes.
Now
It was honest. It was an honest answer.
this was not a unanimous vote though, right? It was a split vote is my understanding.
It was a 4-2, and then one abstained because he recused himself. He's an attorney that's in the same law office as the city attorney. Oh, well, no, that's not true. The attorney that was representing Prologis.
And again, I'm not anti-data center. We've laid this out on our show. I think they have a huge part in our society. People are watching us right now because of a data center. We're not hypocrites, but there has to be more transparency. There has to be everybody working together. And it really seems like, Connie, that in this case, the city has, and I blame the government, not the data center people. If somebody's going to make you a deal, it ain't your fault for getting a deal. I blame the government. It seems like in this case, the city has really gone out of its way to just ice the citizens out. And when you're ignoring your planning commission, it just seems really, really rotten to me.
We totally agree with that.
Okay, so what happens now? Is it done? Do you guys still have a few cards left to play? What happens now?
It's in the attorney's hands.
Do you guys have counsel? Are you guys able to?
Yes.
Okay, so you guys are considering legal action against.
We're not considering it. We are doing it, and the city knows that.
Okay, excellent. Have you been given a realistic? Because I think these things are sort of groundbreaking, right? That once something's done, it's not necessarily done. You can take something to court. You can file against it. Have you guys been given, and what you can share, what your odds are on this? Like what do you do in a legal case like this? How do you fight this?
Well, probably at this point, we can't get into details for obvious reasons, but we are absolutely filing a judicial review. And so many of the missteps that the city of Shelbyville has done has been noticed. And I think we'll probably leave it at that. Odds, we really don't have any odds yet. Of course, we're hoping it's at least 100% in our favor.
Well, and I think about, you're not talking about, 50 acres is a lot of land. 100 acres is a lot of land. You're talking life changing you're changing a community forever when you're talking about close to 600 acres. I mean, there's no putting the genie back in the bottle.
And that's exactly what I have been begging, literally, the city council from the very beginning when I found out about this, is that this is going to be life altering for a lot of families, not only the farming families, but also the houses that are going to be totally engulfed in this data center, which, by the way, is 2.1 miles long. 2.1 miles of data center. And that's only the beginning. That's phase 1, 2, and 3. We have a pretty good feeling we know where phase 4 is. But since it has not come to light, it's still behind that same veil, that same curtain. We can't really say anything because that would just be conjecture on our part.
Yeah, and that's what's rotten is they hide anything that's hidden in secrecy should all be out in front of the public. We're doing this. This is why we're doing it. If you like it, great. If you don't, you can vote us out. All of that should be playing out in public, and none of it's playing out in public. And like I said, there's just so many of these data centers, so hard to keep track. I know you had reached out to me a while ago. I don't know if you know, Connie, I had a bit of a career change. So
yes, well, I follow you. We absolutely follow you. And
So-
actually, we're very thrilled for you. This is great because it gives you so much independence.
yeah, it does. But look, again, and I want to try to find a middle ground for everyone, which is data centers have to exist. They're important, but so do characters of communities. So do residents being informed. And I don't feel like any of that's happening here. If people want to know more about the Shelby County Residents Against Data Centers, how can they do that? How can they get involved? How can they check you guys out? Give us the info.
Well, we have a Facebook page, as you have mentioned, Shelby County Citizens Against Data Centers, but we also have a website. And this website is specifically all the research documents we have collected that would help anyone fighting this, because at this point, I'm hoping those who have just begun the fight in their communities, which there are many, and they have reached out to me, they can follow what's happening here and be aware of what to look for. But if I may, I don't know if you can see this or not.
I can see it.
Is the QR code for the actual website. Anyone who is fighting the data centers, that has all the research documents you're going to need. This is IU, Purdue, UCLA, Harvard, and that's just a few. I mean, it's all legitimate research documents.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm not anti-data center. Our show is certainly not anti-data center. We want data center policy that works for everyone. We want data centers in the right place. We want data centers working with communities. We want data centers like any developer. You got to have buy-in with the people. The people got to be on board because we all got to live in the same community. And so hopefully maybe out of your fight that will come about. So Connie, please keep us posted. Please let us know what we can do, and maybe there is a solution that works for everyone. We hope you guys can find it and keep us informed. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Are you seeing cracks in mortar, moisture working through walls, facade or structural failure beginning to surface? Bramwell Mackay sets the standard for exterior and structural building solutions. Our 40-year master masons and industry experts address moisture intrusion, failing foundations, masonry deterioration, and more. From preserving historic landmarks to addressing modern building envelope issues, Bramwell Mackay delivers full-spectrum service with white-glove professionalism. In Indianapolis, call 812-33-BRICK. 812-33-BRICK.
Hi, I'm John Piper. I'm running for Congress in Indiana. I'm the only candidate in the United States of America exposing the crisis we have in mother's breast milk. Purdue University is a major player in that. Purdue is selling our veterinarians to out-of-state corporations for big money. Bobby Kennedy needs to know about it effective immediately. We are 55,000 veterinarians short across the United States. My two major opponents, Craig Haggard and Jim Barrett, are both protecting the Iranian terror cell in Plainfield, Indiana. I'm John Piper. I approve this message. Paid for Friends for Piper for Congress.
Your bathroom fan could be secretly costing you thousands of dollars in damages. Most people don't even know this until the damage is done. With over 18 years of bathroom remodeling experience, here are 3 signs your fan is failing you without spending a dime on inspections. Sign number 1 is if you have foggy mirrors after you shower. This shows that your fan isn't pulling out enough moisture, which creates the perfect environment for mold. If you have a properly functioning bathroom fan that is the right size for your space, you shouldn't see much fogginess on your bathroom mirror at all. Sign number 2 is if you have bubbling, cracking, or peeling paint in your bathroom. This means moisture is soaking into your walls, slowly breaking down drywall, and even causing the wood framing behind it to rot. Sign number 3 is if you have mold buildup on your fans, ceilings, or walls. This is terrible for your health, but also could wreck your bathroom, costing you a fortune. If you're noticing any of these signs, here's what you can do.
Call Vent Savvy today at 317-300-4434. That's 317-300-4434 and mention Rob for a free attic inspection.
I'm Doug Cobb for Clay County Commissioner. I'm running to bring transparency back to our local government. As a concerned citizen, I want to know what's going on. We need new and fresh ideas for today's challenges. We need a vision for future generations. As a small business owner, I want to explore and promote opportunities to make us all successful. Let's create a brighter future for Clay County together. I'm Doug Cobb, running for Clay County Commissioner, and I approve this message. Paid for by Linda Cheesem.
Hey guys, welcome back. Rob Kendall Show. Man, if you missed any part of that conversation with Connie Lindsay from the group out in Shelbyville fighting back against the data center planned out there, go back and watch it later today. Tell your friends about it. Whether you got friends in Shelbyville or not, these things are coming everywhere, and they're totally out of control, not because they're bad, but because of the way they're being handled. We got to get that uniformity around it. We got to start getting some citizens' victories on these things, because there is a way we can all work together. There should be a way we can all work together. There's great potential with data centers. They do a lot of great work. But, man, you just can't have communities getting ripped apart. We're going to bring producer Jason in just a moment with the great comments you've made throughout the day with the YouTube chat. But first, let me ask you something. When you take a hot shower, does your mirror stay fogged up for 10 or 15 minutes? If it does, your bathroom fan isn't doing its job, and that moisture doesn't just disappear. It gets trapped in your walls, your ceiling, even your attic. Over time, that can mean mold, insulation damage, and even expensive repairs most homeowners never see coming. You should call our friends at Vent Savvy. They specialize in upgrading bathroom exhaust fans the right way, properly sized, properly vented. Go to ventsavvy.com, VENTSAVVY.com, VENTSAVVY.com. Tell me you heard about him on Rob's show, and that means John, the owner of Vent Savvy. He's going to come out to your house free of charge. No charge. Go crawl around your attic, say, hey, you got any mold, any concerns up there? If not, good to see you. Thanks for listening. Have a nice day. But if there is something he finds, he'll present it to you. You can make an informed decision on what to do next. It's in your court. You got nothing to lose, everything to gain. VENTSAVVY.com. One of the few people I would also let crawl around my attic is Jason, producer Jason. He joins us now. Jason, hello.
It's never going to happen, though. Maybe the basement, never the attic. All right, this chat brought to you by Black Sheep Plumbing. Right now, everything's expensive. That includes things you need around the house. If your water heater, water softener, or well pump goes out, or even if your toilet stops working, you may be looking at a major expense. Don't let your next call to the plumber break the bank. Call John, Black Sheep Plumbing, 765-315-7558. John's a Hoosier lifer, takes pride, stands behind his work. That's why all basic services and repairs with Black Sheep Plumbing come with a 2-year parts and labor guarantee, with water heaters having a 6-year parts and tank guarantee. 765-315-7558. That's Black Sheep Plumbing. Give them a call.
Can I tell you John's story? I talked to John yesterday. Sure. He, when John came on, he goes, all right, I'll give it a month, see how it goes. I said, you're going to love it. It's going to be great. He goes, we'll see. He messaged me yesterday. He goes, man, your audience has been so outstanding. I'm totally coming back next month. So you guys have been great. John's very happy with the response. So thanks to everybody who has called Black Sheep Plumbing. John is very appreciative of that.
Very good, as are all of our advertisers. And very good conversation there with Connie.
Yeah, that was it. The data center thing is, our lawmakers are totally derelict in their duty. They're totally letting everybody down. They've got to get a handle on what they're doing with the data centers.
If you have a data center or something like that in your community you're not happy with, give Rob a call and he'll
don't call me.
He'll give him some help.
I will not return your call, but if you message me, I will take a look at it. We want to know, we're like Doug Cobb. We want to know what's going on, and
we'll spread out throughout Central Indiana. You got an issue, so welcome to all the Shelbyville people, new people that popped in today. Nick H starts off our chat today. Rob, that was a great conversation with you and Connie.
Thank you.
Echoing my thoughts there. And let's see, what else do we have here? You need to get John Piper on. fun. Any plans to have John Piper on the show?
So I think this weekend, look, here's the deal. It's Masters weekend, so it's going to be tough because, I don't like to work on Masters weekend. But I'm going to start trying to sit down and email a bunch of these candidates that are running, and the Congress, and that 4th Congressional District is going to be one of them. David Shelton will be with us on Monday. Speaking of candidates, he is running against Secretary of State Diego Morales at the Republican convention.
No word from Diego yet?
In fairness, I have not actually. This is what I'm saying. I'm going to try to just start emailing people over the weekend.
He's waiting on that invitation. Like, why have I not been invited to this party yet?
But it may be Monday because then I just don't work on the major golf tournament weekends. I do work during the week now. I used to not work during the week I was at work.
Okay.
But like most Americans, I wasn't actually working.
You're actually
but now,
awake.
I'm really into the shows.
You're not sleepwalking your way through it.
Anyway, yes.
All right. Looking forward to a Diego and Rob conversation. In Florida Van, a new one in the chat today. Pensacola watching.
Oh, how exciting. Welcome from Pensacola. Thank you so much.
And another one checking in. Alva Coakley, 514, Louisiana.
Oh.
Checking in.
How exciting.
They have data centers in Louisiana?
Probably got them everywhere.
Probably. In Florida Van, once again added in, Shelbyville does not need or want a data center. I think that echoes most of the people here. There's not one person in the chat saying, you're all idiots, we need the data center.
Well, and this is where the state's got to have some sort of, I don't know if come to Jesus moment is the right way to describe it, but some sort of public conversation across the state. I mean, they're doing this thing with the utility bills right now. They should be doing this with the data centers because because like we talked about yesterday, the data center people are starting to get smart. Mm-hmm. Data centers should not be anywhere near where homes are. And yet, because the rural areas, because you can't get any uniformity on any of this, the rural areas are objecting. They're like, well, we'll just go places we don't have to get zoning changes, and we'll find abandoned industrial areas, and we'll go there, which tend to be closer to people. So that's what I'm saying. Like, the state has got to start listening to the folks and come up with some sort of parameters for all of this.
Hilo 2466, very confused why people are opposed to data centers. Quiet, tax-paying neighbors. So we do have a vote for the data centers.
And I think this is part of, look, you're going to get NIMBY people, the not in my backyard people,
right?
Who are no matter what sort of dealio the data center brought, they're not going to want it.
Right.
And that's okay.
Right.
But there's reasonable people. Like Connie Lindsay sounds like a reasonable person. The way that's being handled in Shelbyville sounds super sketchy. And that is my beef with it. Like, if Shelbyville wants to be above board and have a data center go in there, that's their business. But when you have a unanimous negative recommendation from your planning commission, whose job it is in black and white to look at your ordinances, I don't think that's right. Look, if you told me I have to have a data center or a high density housing development, I'd take the data center. But I don't think it should be an either or conversation.
Right.
Because I just don't like people.
Right. Less cars with a data center.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, I say data, you say data, or is it the other way around?
Well, I think it's like Vigo County.
I think we are stuck on opposites there. Andy Engel, data centers are one thing, but they are exposing a larger problem: weak leadership in our state.
Bingo.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Melinda Pennycuff, a new one. Thank you, in caps, for bringing this important issue to light in our community.
That's what we do.
Another Shelbyvillian.
And, here's the thing. All other media outlets in this city should be doing this, too.
What happened to WRTV and all they lost all their reporters, so they can't do the story that has been brewing for over a year. Maybe that's why we lost all our reporters.
These are the sort of stories that all the media should be in, not just... So often it's like, well, the city council voted to do blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. It's the human element that's of interest to people, like the way Connie Lindsay described these people being impacted. It's the things that, hey, if the government's getting $25 million from the developer, that's the story. And until we get those being the stories, we're not going to get proper coverage and proper response by the people to this.
Nancy Stinson, I finally get to listen live. Deep thoughts. Welcome, Nancy Stinson. Lucas Notoris. Nobody down here in Dubois County likes Braun. He is hated evenly by all. I think that sums up Dubois County.
Yeah.
Alva Coakley, special prosecutor usually from a neighboring county doing favors so they can in turn receive favors when needed.
Okay, so now this is in reference to the special prosecutor appointed to the Kleinhelter case, who, for some unknown reason, just dropped charges on or didn't file charges on an 80-page probable cause affidavit. Everybody needs to ask that woman, like, if you see her out in public, and do so in a polite, respectful manner. What the hell, lady? Like, how she's getting a free pass on not explaining this. Like, everywhere she goes, she should be asked about this, because that comes off to the average person as completely ridiculous. And to this day, like, normally when prosecutors don't file charges in a high-profile case, you know, they'll have some sort of press release. Okay, here's the standard that wasn't met, or here's where I felt the evidence was lacking. You haven't gotten any of that from that Orange County prosecutor.
Spray jockey. I made it in time to hear Jason. Yes, you did, in the nick of time. Phyllis Riggs. Thank you, Rob, for interviewing Connie. We in Henry County have fought so hard. It's heartbreaking how our local government officials have turned their backs on the citizens of Henry County.
Yeah, they don't. I think there's a couple problems. So, like, this is what amazes me. I question why we even have planning commissions at this point. Example where I live, Warehouseburg. They're on the west side. Get this. This is how look. Full disclosure, people. I'm going to look right into the camera here. A little throwback to the old show, where I'd say, if I'm looking right into the camera, you know we're getting serious. Your communities are run by freaking idiots. Okay, like, look, I'm sorry. That's just they're incapable of, they're uncreative and incapable of doing the job. And so what happens is you get these people who have no vision, and if they have a hint of a vision, they don't have idea one on how to make it happen. Whatever they want to do, they don't know. And so they start just relying on town staff or city staff to tell them. And so, like Warehouseburg, where I live, there's been this proposed housing development for 2 or 3 years now. Last year, the Planning Commission approved it. Then the council voted it down. This year, they came back. The Planning Commission gave it a negative recommendation, and last night they approved it. What the hell are we even doing? Like, I watch our town council override the Planning Commission all the time on stuff, and I'm just like, why do you even have these people? Your ordinances are so screwed up that you can't even be simpatico with the people whose job it is to enforce your ordinance. If you're mad about your ordinance, change the damn ordinances. These people, like, this is why I am the way I am. Because I saw it from the inside, and I had to get out of it. There's people on, like, Twitter, they're always like, well, if you have all the answers, why don't you run for public office? Well, I did. And I did it really well. But doing it really well means you live in it. And if you live in it, you're going to drive yourself crazy, which is why everybody should be done after one term. If your elected official is not done after one term, there's a problem with them. Big problem with them. I was going to die. Like, I was going to fall over dead of a stroke or a heart attack. Like, I had to get out of it. These people they're idiots. They're idiots. Like, the sooner we figure this out, that they don't know what they're doing, we'll all be much better off. Maybe we can start electing non-idiots eventually. Maybe in my lifetime. That is the goal. Sorry, I didn't mean to derail your segment there.
Charles Sluty. Rob better start watching for black helicopters flying around his house.
Well, if they're going to take me out, Ryan Mears is a much bigger problem for him now than me.
Speaking of
I don't have any power.
Speaking of Ryan Mears, Brian Bozak, getting a lot of new people in the chat today. Is Mears actually doing the right thing, or is he taking the opportunity to get a Republican?
Oh, I don't care, because Kleinhelter's guilty of sin. I don't care what his motive is. He did it. Like, he did it. Like, I don't care why he did it. He's doing it.
Nicholas Wilson, hey, you, smash that like button. We appreciate that. Joseph Norris, what media can we expect to say anything about Kleinhelter? Channel 4, Channel 6, Channel 8, Channel 13, all question marks. Ha, 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 ha.
So the power of the media doing something shows what happened here, which is I did something about it. You know, I don't think he'll mind me telling me now, because it's all played out, and he came on publicly with us. Doug Carter reached out to me, and this is why media's lazy. Media's lazy and not passionate. So Doug Carter reached out to me early last year and said, hey, we got a bit of a spirited public back and forth, but I'd like to meet with you. I have something I want to discuss with you. And Doug Carter laid this out to me, which he laid out to us on the air. Now, as the person who is broadcasting, or it's my show, I got to start digging into what he said. Doug Carter seems like an honest dude, but not just going to take his word for it, because it's my ass on the line if the story proves to be false. It took me months from when I had my first meeting with Doug Carter to prove to the standard that I have for myself all of the things that he was saying and would later say on our show. Most media don't want to do that. They just want to show up and cash a check. They want to show up and talk about pop culture or read from the headlines and not put any effort into it whatsoever. I had a passion for you guys. I had a passion for better government. Most people don't have that. They want to be friends with these people, or they just don't give a damn, so they just go through the motions and giggle.
Matt Dillon, Rob for governor.
Oh, not happening.
Not happening. Well, what'd you say? $10 million?
$10 million. That's the number.
Money makes everything happen.
Somebody comes up with $10 million, I will run for governor. Someone, like, you can't say, I'll get it to you later. You got to have $10 million. I'll run for governor.
Yeah, in cash, no check. Andy Engel. I like this Carrie Hamilton. We probably don't agree on stuff, but she seems very likable.
The Democrats need to start nominating nothing but Carrie Hamilton type of people. If they do that, they will start winning a lot more elections.
Thomas Ho at producer Jason. Rob should do a show only about data centers because there's so much superficial misinformation. I think you cover it pretty well on a
like every show. We do something on the data centers, don't we?
Yeah, pretty much every day.
Yeah.
So
I mean, they're a big deal. That's why we do it.
That's right. Thomas interested in the data centers, though, as are everybody. Benita Christensen. Thank you to the TikTok poster. Great job.
Good job. Whoever you are, wherever you are.
Wherever you are, wherever you are. You need to get TikTok on.
I am not putting anything that China still owns on my phone.
All right, let's see. Let's end with something recent here. That's about all I got, Rob.
Perfect.
There's probably a couple hundred chats today, as there are every day. So what I suggest, Rob always calls these the best chat. These are not necessarily the best. It's just kind of I like to give a sprinkling overview of what's going on. But some great conversation. You need to be a part of the chat. I'm not talking about the comments below the video. I'm talking about when we're live, the chat's there. Get in. It's a great community, and we love our chatters. Brought to you by Black Sheep Plumbing.
That's right. Okay, so we didn't have time to get this today because it came out right before we went on the air, and I was already sort of down the rabbit hole where I wanted to go. And sometimes when we get to our new place, it will be easier to do breaking news. And this is no one's fault. Jason and I just have certain restrictions based on how our current setup is put together. And hopefully in the not too distant future, we'll be in a new permanent home. Again, we have been treated so well here, and we would not be on the air right now if it were not for the fine folks that have allowed us to be here.
If anybody's got any great space that is just sitting there wasted, let us know. And
let us know. We're open, and we're narrowing it down. We're hopefully soon going to be where we're going to be, but it's hard for us to do breaking news because of the way this is set up. And again, I'm not complaining. It's been wonderful. But when we get to our new place, we'll be able to do breaking news. So I got this. This broke literally right before I went on the air.
Am I out of here?
You're done.
See.
Oh, I forgot. I'm sorry.
I was gone and I came back. I didn't know.
No. You're done. I'm done with you.
So long, everybody.
And so there is breaking news that we will get into on Monday. Abdul has put this out over at Indy Politics, where it appears that Braun and potentially the lieutenant governor and even up to the White House potentially were allegedly trying to leverage something to get Alexandra Wilson out of the race in Senate District 38. Now, I read the story very quickly before he came on the air because it just got posted. I'll get into it this weekend. This could be a powder keg story. If what I think is in it is in it. I'll go back and read it. IndyPolitics.org later today. We will get to it, and we will bust this story wide open on Monday because it certainly appears from what Abdul has posted, just the peripheral being able to read it through once, that high-ups in the Braun administration were trying to leverage state government potentially against getting this woman, Alexandra Wilson, out of the race. And so Monday, we will get to that. I just didn't have time to dig into it the way I needed to today, but we will give you all the smoke on this on Monday. Hey, one of the biggest complaints we have with real estate is we never actually get to talk to the agent. That's why here at the Rob Kendall Show, we love Lauren Wilson. A bunch of you have reached out and said, called her, she picked right up, had a great conversation with her, told her I don't even need to buy or sell a house. She was just like, great to meet you. Please use me when the time is right. That's why we love Lauren Wilson. She handles her clients or potential future clients directly. Lauren has spent her whole life in Central Indiana. She's a military vet. She knows what it means to be a Hoosier through and through. So whether you're upgrading for a growing family or downsizing for retirement, Lauren provides a hands-on experience that takes the stress out of the process. Give Lauren Wilson with At Properties a call. 317-590-2290. 317-590-2290. Guys, want to talk about something that kind of happened this week, and it's proof of what we have been talking about on this program, which is, real quick, before I get to this, though, I did want to read this. So the numbers are out for the Final Four about the statistics. So WTHR has the numbers of people that went through were a part of Indianapolis during the Final Four. These are some incredible numbers. And look, critical a lot of the city of Indianapolis, critical of the freebies that are given away, critical of the taxpayer money that's been extracted to pay for our various stadiums. One thing I'm not critical of is once the event gets going or we get the event, they do a phenomenal job hosting the event. Again, doesn't mean I'm not critical of the amount of taxpayer money that went to Lucas Oil Stadium or is going to Lucas Oil Stadium, but Indianapolis knows how to host an event. So according to WTHR, 72,111 people attended the Final Four games at Lucas Oil Stadium on Saturday. So the back-to-backs. Now, I was told the way the back-to-backs work is if you got one ticket, you could stay for both games. However, you could also potentially sell your ticket in between games. So like if your team played, you didn't want to stay for the second game, you could sell it and people could come back in. 70,000, if I'm wrong on that, I'm sorry, that's the way it was explained to me. 70,720 people attended the national championship game on Monday. This is an incredible number. 1,929 volunteers helped put on the Final Four events. And there were 49 of 50 states attended the Final Four. 12 countries were represented. And people forget it got lost in the shuffle because the Final Four is so big. The Division II and III and NIT championship games were being played at Gainbridge Fieldhouse on Sunday. 14,295 people went to those games. 86,519 people attended the Fan Fest, the convention center. That was a record attendance, as well as it set a single-day record for Friday, Saturday, and Monday. And 73,394 people attended the March Madness Music Festival, featuring free concerts at the American Legion Mall. That included, the headliners were 21 Pilots, Zac Brown Band, and Post Malone. And last but not least, 59,696 people attended the tip-off tailgate on Georgia Street. So a colossal amount of people rolling into downtown Indianapolis over really Friday through Monday for the Final Four. So if you went, hope you had a great time. Hope you're part of it. And again, critical of a lot of things Indianapolis does, they do a great job once they have an event of putting it on, even if I don't like the way it's potentially paid for. Masonry color mismatch, previous repair catching your eye, not happy with the brick color on your home and ready for a total makeover. Bramwell Mackay Property Services and Consultants offer specialized masonry, staining, and recoloring. Whether you want to seamlessly blend repairs or completely transform your home's exterior, want to build something new? Bramwell Mackay's 40-year master masons design and construct custom patios, sidewalks, outdoor summer kitchens, archways, entryways, and more. Bramwell Mackay, BRAMWELLMCKAY, beauty built to endure. So I want to close with this, guys. This was a great week for us. Jason and I have been looking at our numbers this past week. They've been phenomenal. We saw great growth. We see growth every week, but we saw great growth this week. And that is thanks to you guys. When we ask you to do these things, like if you haven't done it yet, please do it. Hit the thumbs up button before you go. That's so important to us. Or hit the subscribe button or share the feed. We're doing it for a reason. We're not trying to waste your time. We're not just going through the motions. We're asking you to do things that actually do help us grow the program. And we saw great growth over the past 5 days. And it is really helpful because our ultimate goal is to influence public policy. I think that's your goal too. That's why you're with us, to have an impact on lawmakers, to do things that will end up being better public policy. They know how many eyeballs they're getting. They know how many ears we're getting, and they see these numbers are going up too. So I wanted to thank you guys for doing the things we're asking you to do every single day. Over the weekend, don't let up. Share the feed. Let people know about us. All the views, all the listens, all the hits, they count the same. And so whether you're on Apple or Spotify, thank you to you people as well. If you haven't, leave that 5-star review. I just want to thank you guys for helping us grow the show. You have been phenomenal. Have a very safe and happy weekend. Behave yourself. Take care of yourself. For producer Jason, I'm Rob Kendall. We'll see you here Monday, 10 to noon. You've been watching Rob Kendall Show.